Hi, this is Del Singh here, aka BariatricMan. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about exercise and physical exertion. A lot of people have commented to me that with such a massive weight loss through surgery, kind of, talking about sort of 10 stone, 66 kilograms, they sort of say, well, hang on a second, that just doesn't happen because you don't eat a great deal, so you must be really active. And the answer is, I have become far more active than I ever was before the surgery, but not to the point where I'm actually going down and sort of spending hours and hours in the gym. And I think it's important to understand that you don't necessarily become a gym bunny to get all the benefits of this. However, with weight loss comes a lot more energy and a lot more desire to maybe want to get up and do stuff, and that's what I found. And I guess each their own. I mean, I have spoken to a couple of people who found that after surgery that they didn't feel quite as intimidated about going to a gym where there were people, because they weren't as big, and that helped them. The other thing is, when you're, as I try to explain to somebody, when you're sort of really overweight, and I'm talking about really overweight to the point where if you are carrying an excess of 10, 12 extra stone, if not more, going to the gym often isn't an option, not just because you might feel very self-conscious, but also you could do yourself more damage from a health point of view. I mean, trying to exert yourself, you could possibly have a coronary if you're trying to do something too much. So again, it is a very difficult thing to do. As it happens, I have found something that I really enjoy doing, which is walking. And I know it's something that I think I would previously say walking is greatly overrated, and it's kind of like a poor man's jogging, in that I guess the reason I don't jog is as a 50-something year old, I've got quite weak knees, and again, some of that's down to age, some of it's down to carrying a lot of weight around for the last 20 years. Some of it's down to the fact I did used to play a lot of squash when I was at university, so I threw myself around and damaged my knees that way. So doing things that are high impact, like jogging and stuff, isn't good for me. However, walking at a good brisk pace is good, and I've got faster and better the more I've done it. And as I say, it started literally as a result of helping me digest my food, having a quick walk around the block, and now walking, proper walking shoes, and going walking for 6-7 miles a day, whether it's an evening or whether it's night. I do actually put a backpack on and have a wander around, so and that makes me feel good, and I don't get the knee pains and stuff. Yes, I do strap my knees up and so on. I think it's important to do that anyway. If you're going to walk a distance of any sort, make sure you don't take any chances. But I feel good for doing that. There's a number of facets to it. One is that I do actually like my own company. It's not that I'm antisocial, but I find that I do subscribe to the Groucho Marx idea that I wouldn't want to join a club that have me as a member. So maybe I like the idea of putting some headphones in and walking by myself as opposed to a group, although my wife and I do go walking at the weekends. I do take the headphones out because she wouldn't forgive me if I kept them in. But just being out in the fresh air was something you don't get in the gym, sort of being out. And we're very fortunate where I live here in Cambridgeshire, in the UK. We've got some beautiful areas, some nice lakes and some nice countryside, so walking around that is wonderful, even in the winter time. In the summer it's absolutely glorious. So walking has been brilliant for me, and as I say, I do a fair bit of that, and I find that it eases me in terms of body and mind, and makes me feel at peace, and gives me a bit of downtime to myself, lets me think. I do also cycle as well, and I think that's pretty good. It's not something I thought about immediately, but I've bought a bike, and again, I go out on my own at the weekends and do 30-40 kilometres on a bike. Feel quite tired, but feel very good about it. So and that kind of balances all the stuff that I do during the rest of the week at work, where I have to sit in a car and go to work and back and whatever. Or the fact that I work in the IT business, so I've got a very sedentary lifestyle, so I sit there at a desk with a computer, a laptop and whatever. So it's important to understand these things. I mean, I read an article recently where a lady was actually saying, banned any form of gastric surgery, and this lady's lost 13 stone, I believe, doing it through diets and stuff, and brilliant, good on her. But again, I wish she wouldn't knock what other people do, because maybe what she's done not everybody can do. And I think one of the points she makes in is that oh, we were made, nature made us to have a stomach that was this big, so reducing that stomach is going against nature. I mean, all I'd say to her is maybe if you looked at her sort of, whether she's a creationist or evolutionary, I believe in evolution. When we were actually designed as beings, we were very much sort of, hunters, and, we wouldn't be sitting there waiting for pizza to pop out the oven. We'd be running after things, chasing them down, or trying to forage for food, and we'd burn a lot of energy. And therefore, if we had a stomach this big, we'd have to fill it with something. And that's why you don't get massively obese Kalahari Bushmen, because sometimes with those people, if they don't kill anything or don't hunt anything or find anything, they don't eat. And so therefore, if you've got a big stomach, that's one thing. But these days, having a big stomach and just filling it with processed food, it's not going to happen. So over time, our evolution has changed. So we're now not hunters anymore. We're now just, couch potatoes. So the thing is, if you've got a small stomach, you can eat a small amount of food, and it does. So I think her argument about, that's the way nature made it is nonsense. We've evolved, lady, so that's it. Exercise is still important. Some sort of physical exertion of some kind is great, and I'm finding that, and it's simple maths, if you exert, and it kind of counterbalances what you put in, so output, input, and that's the weight. But I was never able to kind of visualize that because I was simply not able to do enough exercise. So I could diet, but because I was still never ever burning it off, the weight loss was really, really slow. That's one of the other frustrations for me. Was I know when I read about people that have lost 8-10 stone on a diet, I often look at how quickly they lost it, and for a lot of people it's I lost it over 2 years or 3 years. And that's great. And alongside of that, they do actually say, I don't think all of them say, I did a diet plus I spent 2 to 3 hours in the gym every day. I just didn't have the 2-3 hours in the gym every day. I didn't have the inclination for the gym. And at the same time, I didn't have 2 years patience I didn't want the patience to wait for 2 years because, when the diet stopped working, all of a sudden you get depressed and you then come off them. The one thing the surgery helped me was achieve a big result very quickly and without the mass exertion. So, within that first few months, you literally start dropping 1 stone per month. Yeah, and that's as a result of no exercise at all. That's the result that you're eating very little. Yeah, and as you start to it does start to slow down a bit. And after about I think after about 8 months, I found that it was now beginning to slow down. And all of a sudden, after that period of time, I've also now had the desire to get out and be more physical with exercise. So I started walking more and longer distances. And then all of a sudden, the weight still kept coming off, but not at that rate. I mean, I'm now 16 months in, and if I was to tell you that, if I would probably lose about a pound a month if I'm lucky, a couple of pounds a month if I'm really lucky. Other than that, it's really slowed down quite a bit, but I'm still doing quite a lot of walking, but my appetite's come back, so I do eat fairly regularly as well. So your body kind of fights back, but the other thing is I'm also building muscle. I've got very, very muscular legs now as well as a result from all this walking, and muscle is denser than fat, so I think that's the other reason why my weight maybe isn't dropping the way it was previously. So I think anybody's considering this, you don't immediately have to think, oh my God, I'm going to have to be going down the gym. I think you'll want to maybe go down the gym. You maybe want to walk. You maybe want to bike. You maybe want to swim. You may want to do, but you'll be less self-conscious doing those things when you're not carrying a massive amount of weight around. The other thing people start to say to me is, oh God, you lost all that weight. That means you've got loads of loose skin. The answer is, I've got some loose skin. I'm fairly fortunate. I don't have a massive amount of it. I've got some kind of under my arm here. It's, and I've got some on my stomach, midriff and so on, and probably in the inner thighs. But the way I say to people is, I don't think too many people ever died from excess skin. Unlike stroke and diabetes and all of those conditions and cancer, all these things linked to obesity. A bit of loose skin never kills. Yeah, you can get it treated and you can get it done cosmetically removed and stuff. I don't think I'm that vain that I'm going to worry about that right now. For me, it was never about wanting to look good, coming out the water. Daniel Craig style, it was more about, just making sure I don't actually succumb to these illnesses and so on, and I have a better quality of life. And I'm doing that at the moment. So the loose skin is less of an issue, but with any diet, you do get loose skin. I know some people say, oh, if you go on the diet, then you don't have it. If you go gastric, you get loose skin. I think it's a bit of a nonsense. People are going to adjust their own agenda accordingly. Yet the more physical you are, the more you find the weight loss will happen. You will end up with some loose skin and stuff. And again, you can address that any which way you want. But I think in the general sense of well-being and happiness, I think that